Duke here. I thought I'd make another quick video on some of my least favorite dueling habits. Now, these aren't like, actual habits within the game. Like, when people like shuffle their cards in their hand or they do the thing where they kind of like flip the corners of the cards. This isn't like that. But like, this is kind of more of like the unwritten rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! The kind of things that it's like, it's not really a rule of the game, but it's something that most people kind of agree is generally a thing you should follow. First thing I want to talk about is commentators. The people who like to stand by your games. They like to look at your face downs. They want to see what you're going to draw. They want to know what's in your hand. Oh, you misplayed this. Oh, you could have done this. I'm not a big fan of these types. Mostly just because when I'm dueling, I tend to be in my own head. I really like to focus on the game, and I kind of like to quiet down and really just kind of buckle down and really get into the duel. When I have somebody kind of screaming in my ear or really just talking a lot, within, about the duel and all of that, it really tends to distract me. It really, like, even if you're telling me a move I could have done, I'm kind of sitting here thinking, okay, well, I was going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. I play this deck, you don't play this deck. Um, so, or even if you do play the deck, it's like we have different builds of a deck usually, or I know how to play this deck, so it's like stop. The other part of that really frustrates me too is people who just like to touch your cards while you're playing. Now it's one thing to be like, you know, before or after a duel, be like, hey, can I see your, like, can I see your build? And that's one thing, that's fine. I'll usually let people check out my build. We can talk about it, all that stuff. But it's another thing to like, when I'm in the middle of a duel, to like look at my face downs, look at the cards I'm gonna draw, staring down my hand, all that kind of stuff. That's not great. If you want to watch a duel, you should watch the duel, but you should keep it at that. You should really kind of just like stick by. If you really want to react to a play, that's one thing. Somebody flips up that one solemn judgment they needed, and you're just like, oh shit. I mean, that's one thing, but it's another thing to kind of be like, oh yeah, he's got this and this and this, or looking at your draw and you're like, oh, you have bad cards, or oh, you're gonna lose, auto lose, you might as well scoop. There are people like that, and it really frustrates me that people do that. Another thing that I'm really not a fan of is what I would just call hooters. Now, a hooter is somebody who not only banters a lot. Like, it's one thing to banter. I banter with my friends all the time. When we're dueling. But hooters are people who just don't shut up ever. They are just constantly talking smack the whole tournament. They're always listening in on your duels. They're always commenting on things that are outside of their duels. Like maybe they're dueling next to you and they'll be like, oh, look at that spicy card. Or, ooh, he's got that big, being kind of sarcastic with your moves or thinking you're going to lose and all that stuff. There are people that, especially at my locals, there's one person, won't name names, who tends to do this a lot. They'll comment on things outside of their own duel or something like that. They'll really kind of banter along with you, and it's like, stop. These kinds of people really kind of tend to piss me off. Just because it's like, pay attention to your own duel. Or if you're not in the duel and you're just watching, just watch, like I was mentioning in the last one, But, don't be the guy who's going around to all the other tables and seeing people's matchups and be like, oh, that's an easy win. You got this. Like, it's like, this is a tournament. You know what I mean? It's like, and in the end, we're all a bunch of nerds playing a card game in a card shop, None of us are really cooler than the other. You're not a better person or a cooler person or, I don't know, higher up on the scale of humans because, you think this and that. And, I mean, hey, let's face it. You talk too much shit, you're going to get burned eventually, and nobody wants to see that. Or, if you're the kind of guy who does talk shit, people are gonna want to see you get burned, and that's just not something. It's not a culture that I want to see in Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, Another type that this one doesn't bug me nearly as much, but people who have stuff in their trade binder that's not for trade. Now, if you got one or two cards in there that are just like, oh, I'm saving that one card for my friend or something like that. There's the general rule of like you flip the card upside down in your binder so that, they know that it's not for trade. However, if I'm going through your binder, your trade binder, and that's not for trade, that's not for trade, that's not for trade, I'm saving that, that's for my friend, it's like, I don't really want to look through your binder, because I don't want to find every single card that I want from you not for trade. If there's that many cards that are in your trade binder that are not for trade, my simple solution is take it out of your trade binder or put it in a different binder, or do what I do, which is put it in a little deck box of just, cards that I'm saving for this or that. Sleeve it up, put it in a deck box, put it in another binder. Just don't put it in your trade binder. That's where the things you're supposed to be trading are. And it bothers me, because I'm a big trader. I'm not a huge fan of like buying cards or something like that. Now, it's another thing, and this one doesn't ever piss me off, is where you say, I'd rather sell it than I'd trade it. That's totally different. I don't ever have a problem with that. Sometimes you just want to sell your cards. Sometimes you want to trade them. That's whatever. And the last one that really kind of bothers me is just the straight up bullies that I see at, card games and stuff like that, which is kind of surprising, but at the same time, not as much. There's assholes in every community. But what qualifies, if I can speak English, as a bully? People who steal your stuff. People who rule shark you. People who try to cheat their way in a tournament because they don't think that you know their cards as well. Don't be that guy. Look, I understand that at a certain point in a tournament level, there are people that are going to try to win at all costs. They're going to try to forget that they can't go into their battle phase when Soul Charge is activated, or they forget that you can't special summon after you use Pot of Duality or something like that. And, look, like I said, people are there to win. But if you're winning because you're intentionally trying to cheat your opponent out of a play, if you're the kind of guy who's going to sit around and kind of wait for time to go off because you're outmatched but you're ahead, or something like that, don't be that duelist. Have integrity when you duel. Have an actual, good reputation when you duel. Don't be the guy who's doing stuff like that, because yeah, you may win the duel, and sure, that's what you're there for, but are you really winning? At that point, you're kind of resorting to what I call the Bandit Keith method. You're cheating. And I feel like that we as duelists should have the integrity to not do that. Just win fairly. If your deck's better than theirs, prove it. If you're a better duelist than them, prove it. But if you have to resort to those methods to win, in my opinion, you're not a good duelist. I mean, some people might get offended at that. Some people might say, oh, you gotta pay attention to their cards. You gotta know how things react to one another. You do, and I'm not trying to say you don't at all, but I'm also saying that you should hold yourself accountable for knowing your own cards. You shouldn't intentionally forget to do something or forget that you can't do something. Your opponent can only keep track of so much, and you can only keep track of so much. It makes it easier for everyone else when you're just not trying to cheat. Now, it's another thing if you legitimately accidentally forget it and the game state gets warped from there. That's one thing. But like I said, it's the intentional ones that really get at me because I've seen people and they will sit there and they will, you know, say like, oh, this affects these and these and these cards, and it's like, it doesn't. Or I didn't activate Soul Charge this turn, that was last turn, and they'll accept it, and it's like, you could tell they were just trying to get it, their battle phase in, or something like that. And that bothers me, like I said, just because you're cheating. Straight up. You need to take responsibility for that, and you need to not do that. Regardless of if your opponent is or isn't trying to pay attention to every single card that you play, let's face it, at this point, we have decks like Gokis, like Trickstars, like Phantom Knights. All of these, or Altergeist, really. All of these special summon in so many different ways that it's almost impossible to keep up with every single move that's being made unless you play every single deck. And most people don't. Most people don't play those decks. And especially when you're at like a casual tournament. If you, let's put it this way. If you're the kind of guy or girl who's cheating at a locals tournament, to me that's just kind of pathetic. And I know some people might get offended at that, but oh well. Like, that's kind of pathetic if you're cheating, especially at a locals. And then it's another thing to cheat at, like, a big national tournament where you've got judges watching. But maybe I'm alone on this, but I feel like regardless of how much somebody is paying attention to the game state or how much they really know how different cards interact with each other, I feel like that you as a duelist should have the integrity to lose. You should have the integrity to be okay with losing. Or not really be okay with losing, but being okay with your cards not doing the things that you need them to do at that moment. But maybe that's just me. I'm more of a casual player, so maybe I'm a little biased in that. But that's just my opinion on that. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know some of the other things that kind of bother you when it comes to dueling or people at dueling events. Or, just let me know anything I miss. That's what the comments are for, guys. So, Nukerev signing out here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys later.